All right, everyone. Welcome to our first, or I should say my first This Week in Crypto live stream in about a month now, due to both the holiday season and our streamers taking a little break themselves. We kind of had a hiatus, but I was recording pre-recorded videos, and Maxim put out a great live stream last week, and I'm excited to have the viewership that we have today to answer any questions that may pop up in our chat. Looking forward to going over as much as we can here over the next 45 to 60 minutes as we navigate what's been a very tumultuous up and down week. Still more up than down, right? The 100K plus mark happened just a little over, or a little under, I should say, 48 hours ago. And now we're sitting in a spot where, just as the thumbnail of this video suggests, it's all about the bulls and bears kind of battling it out at this 100K level. The theme of this live stream is going to be leaning a bit more bullish than bearish, based on the metrics that most of us at Santiment value the most. There are a few more indicators signaling that we can climb, back to 100K and upward over the next few weeks here, assuming everything stays the way it does. And we'll kind of go over some examples to illustrate that, because we aren't here to give investment advice, as you know. We're here to look at probabilities based on historic signals that we value greatly here at Santiment. And the main ones that really are pointing to something good coming in these final few weeks of 2024 are whale accumulation, retail FUD / uncertainty being kind of neutral or doubtful, and of course just increased utility overall, that I think is a good sign, not just for Bitcoin but for all of crypto right now. And lots of good advancements going on technologically, especially Cardano, Stellar, XRP. They've all had monumental rises over the past month or so, 5xing or 6xing in some cases. So it's very exciting to see what we're witnessing right now. And for those scared, thinking that the 100K milestone is the perfect time, to take a huge profit because it's a big round number, just understand whales aren't working that way. Whales are looking at how retail traders are perceiving this, and whether they're overreacting to a big round number and then pouncing with potentially more accumulation as a result of all the limit profit take orders that have been firing off the past 48 hours. With all that said, I want to welcome our founder, Maxim, who's just joined. This is our first live stream back together, my friend. How are you?
Yes, after some time. Yeah. Last week I was alone. Before this, you had to be alone as I was traveling on these conferences and like DevCon and visiting partners in Malaysia. Doing good. I mean, it's now this not so frequent phases of the market where really using data and analytic skills and your experience can bring difference, because there are always a long period of time where you cannot do much, just wait. And now when we are looking to the numbers and charts and some of the metrics we will do today, that makes sense, because the difference could be, if you make good decisions and not so good, the difference can be quite sizable.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. And, from a numbers perspective, Maxim and I think we overlap on maybe 80 to 90% of the indicators on Santiment that we value the most. And then he's got that extra 10 to 20% that he really monitors a lot. And I've got my own region. So I'm excited to hear your perspective, Maxim. We did catch up yesterday a little bit about the markets, and I think we're kind of in agreement that things aren't looking as terrifying as I think some people may seem, who are all expecting a big correction. But the chance of a small correction to spook some retail traders is on the table. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, definitely, because there are too many now. Just one reason. Yeah, there are probably a few others, but one reason there are too many professional players, and who probably capable at least to process some part of the data very good in a way they know, and they see that there are many unprofessional players, and like we saw yesterday, this dive of Bitcoin, this is where they saw opportunities, they liquidated. I don't remember. So how much was it? 6, 5, 6, 700 millions. This is what they will do. They will keep doing it. And
We
the
got
moment
close
they
to a
see,
billion, I believe.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. And actually, I saw it today. Also on even on I think on Aave, RAB BTC was liquidated for 10 million. Of course, it's not billion, but for crypto related, for DeFi related scale, it's quite sizable. Yeah. And needless to say, it's typically this kind of blood is more often than not it's a recovery immediately, because these players, they achieved their goal and they buy back immediately. So, and this will keep happening. Just from this reason alone, we should always count with some unexpected sharp moves. And but it can be not just sharp move for the sake of liquidating. At some point of time, once the players see, okay, now retail, masses of professional, less professional players indeed exposed, indeed participated, this turn can be much longer time. Again, we can talk about weeks or months of prices going down. And we have good proxy, yeah, for this. It's the one number. There are a few of them, and we'll see how many of them we will cover. But the easiest for anyone who on the stream, and I said it last time, and I think a few times before, just look on the small wallets. I personally track 001 till 1, and sometimes 1 to 10.2. Are they in? Did they start accumulating massively? Because they are not yet. And it's a kind of indicator, very simplified. Yeah, it doesn't show you few nuances, but it does show you major thing. Are retail convinced that Bitcoin will go to 250,000 or whatever the limits are? They're not yet. At least this morning I didn't see it. We can check it again.
Yeah.
This morning it was not the case yet. Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely want to dive into a lot of metrics here, especially now that we're reunited after about a month off. But one thing that immediately jumps out at me, just looking here at the screener, is volume is almost doubled compared to the week prior. I think part of that is in late November, there's this mini lull, right, where we got to that 96K to 99K range, and a bunch of people were like, doing that meme with the guy with the stick saying, "Come on, do something," and nothing was happening. And I think a lot of people got stagnant and just froze, and we're not making the trades. And once that 100K mark got hit a couple days ago, we see all these fireworks and limit orders take care of increasing volume, as well as people reacting to the news, seeing the headlines for six-figure Bitcoin for the first time in history after not even touching their coins in months or years, and suddenly reacting to that. It's amazing what psychological round number supports and resistances can do to really suddenly juice up the markets and make them start to circulate once again.
Yeah. Because too many people expect something around it, so expectation will be fulfilled. If even not exactly in the way how majority expect, but yeah, volatility around this round numbers here.
Yeah, exactly. And as I mentioned, XRP just is continuing to churn along. It's up to $2.37. I saw it above 260. I can't remember the exact number. We'll see if we have time and we can check out XRP. I have an article coming up where I'll be diving into some of our unique metrics that we have available on Santiment for XRP that we made about a year ago. So look out for that article coming up soon. Also, Tron having a huge day. It was number 2, Maxim, on the top trending tokens list yesterday. And at least over the past 24 hours, if I switch to it, Yeah, it's actually been one of the bigger losers all of a sudden because, like
But
clockwork,
it's
if you see a
one day. If I think
exactly.
if you take maybe a week, it will be different picture.
Right. Yeah. Over the span of a week,
Mhm.
before it was trending, this is when most of its gains was happening. And then 24 hours ago, it hit number 2 on the top trending list. And
Mhm.
that's when it started to turn down because
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah.
that's the most typical pattern. You see a
That's the
pumping
classic.
coin.
That's the classic.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think
So,
Ripple was the same. I even saw on Sana. I regretted myself somehow. Sometimes too busy maybe, or like focus on complex things. But we saw Ripple claimed top spot on our trends in even words, not just tokens. And then I came to Sana, and some folks they did open shorts on Ripple. If you go to Sana, you will see Diana. Precisely on the top. So I don't know if this person, I don't know if it's he or she, if this person used our trends in tokens or trends in was, but it was so good call.
yeah.
Like really on the top. The reason I'm saying it, well, of course, go to Sana is still a relatively small community, but you can see when some people are doing good calls, they must be knowing something. And second, in the whole universe of sentiment tools, the top trending words, especially, it's a hidden gem. If any project lands on the top 3 position, and don't pick up top trending coins, they're only coins. So there are always some coins. But if some coins imagine to go through all major narratives and occupy a mind share of whole crypto space, so it's top 3, 80% of cases, this is the top. Sometimes it stays there for some time. It depends on the power of narrative, but you can assume that in 2 weeks, the price will be lower. Yeah.
Maxim, maybe I'm out of the loop, but did our URL, our main URL change from sanar.app to something else again?
No. Do you have, well, you need some wallet here. Do you have any wallet on this browser? MetaMask or anything?
I do. I would have to go and dig up an old password, but I don't know why it's what's that?
Oh, yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Let me report. This is a good experience in outage as we talk. Okay, let me
Welcome
see.
to live bugs on our live stream. Part of the growing process of being a startup company. But yeah, we'll have it resolved soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, I reported you.
Yeah. But anyways, just to round out a few other huge gainers this week, we saw Hedera almost double in market cap, VeChain up 46%, BitGet token up 46 as well, and Jasmy, the lone token in this top 70 market cap list that did more than double, up 104% approximately over the past week. So yes, another great week of gains. It's interesting seeing Bitcoin only up 1.3%. Of course, if we go back a week ago, it was teasing 100K as well. So that explains that. Um, Now, moving to a few interesting things that I've been finding. Uh, I haven't discussed this one with you yet, Maxim, but this is a little custom query I put together uh, about an hour before this call,
Uh-huh.
looking at the mentions of buy, buying, or bought,
Mhm.
specifically with Bitcoin or BTC, and then buy,
Interesting.
buying, or bought specifically with Ethereum or ETH. I have
Uh-huh.
them on a shared axis, so Bitcoin's obviously going to be much higher than Ethereum. It's simply more popular.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
But you can see moments where Ethereum had like this huge run
Yeah,
of
yeah.
buying, and then it goes back to normal after altcoins kind of chill out a little bit. And then this
So we
latest
can
one
say
happened. Yeah.
that there is major narrative dominance of Bitcoin. You see this huge blue spike first, yeah.
Mhm.
Then it shifts somehow to Ethereum, and then probably it shifts again together with Ethereum more or less at this time, maybe to altcoins. Yeah, that would correspond
Yeah.
to how we usually think market behave. Yeah.
So this is the Ethereum. You can see how the crowd was kind of reacting to this upswing right here. I just switched the price over to ETH. And then it kind of corrected just a little bit, and suddenly the crowd stops talking about it, but the prices keep
This is
pumping.
an interesting. I never looked into this specific search query, but I know from all my experience that there is always point of recognition when crowds say, "Oh, now this is finally the time." In this case, Ethereum now start popping. And usually it comes in the middle, in early of terms, in the middle of third wave. If there are people on the stream now or later on who listen, we always like this point of recognition, more or less middle of third wave. This seems to be the one. I usually use, actually I use sometimes social volume, but I often use volume, trading volume, or delective addresses or transaction volume on chain. It looks like in this case, you can really see a point of recognition from different narrative or from different market segments, coming from major Bitcoins and to Ethereum, altcoins, or whatever the structure of the market is. But typically it's like, Bitcoin, Ethereum, sometimes or lately in between meme coins. But these spikes is usually show if you been lucky or by smart decision before, at this time you should consider, okay, so we definitely passed the middle. We should consider exiting. And if you're entering at this point of time and you see, oh, this is a huge spike of interest of the crowd, be careful because we are already around the middle. So first there will be volatility. You will be pressed to exit at not profitable. So you need some emotional resilience. But generally you need to prepare. When you enter this stage, it's a relatively short-term trade or investment. I would say weeks, not months. It's only weeks left.
Yeah. One thing I also looked up, as you mentioned it, Maxon, is buying or bought altcoin or altcoins here in yellow. Now, it's not as nearly as big as Bitcoin or Ethereum, but there's still a pretty consistent amount of mentions across social media on a daily basis. If I take off the shared axis so we can really highlight it, look at how this highest spike we've seen over the past 3 months happened right as that all-time high for Bitcoin was happening, just about an hour or two after at 103, 102K, and then markets have that 10% drop. So I find that fascinating as well. I would assume that when you see a lot of euphoria for altcoins, that's generally going to be a sign of greed. And that's no exception right here. The higher the spike, the more confidence I would suggest you can look at prices topping out occurring. And the same would go for meme coin or meme coins, perhaps even more extreme. So this is the meme coin cycle. Look at how it this is interesting, Maxim. You see this little drop in Bitcoin's price here 2 weeks ago, and then the meme coin mentions went through the roof.
So together with Ethereum, okay.
Yeah. So the Ethereum one kind of came afterwards, but it was like meme coins first. Everyone said, I'm going to be clever and buy the most speculative, high leveraged coins out there on this dip. And I think some of them actually got kind of rewarded here because it jumped after the meme coin and Ethereum mentions. And then it kind of ranged for a while until everyone settled down. But that's fascinating. Now, another thing that I put up yesterday is the whale behavior. This is a day old, so we'll check the live look in just a moment, but this is the past 3 years, and there are 5 instances where I highlighted anomaly behavior from 10 plus wallets. The first was back in February to July. Obviously, 2022 was a very brutal year for crypto, largely because the US government was increasing interest rates, and the whales were recognizing this, and they were dumping like crazy during these 5 months here. During that time, the price of Bitcoin went down exactly 50% from the time that they started to dump in early February. Then came the FTX collapse, which we learned in hindsight there was a lot of tomfoolery and weird behavior going on with whales that knew about FTX even back then in early 2022. But yeah, there was this major dump way back here that resulted in Bitcoin getting all the way down to the 15Ks before whales finally started to accumulate once again. Then we had the September 2023 to March 2024 accumulation phase, and this was massive. You can see how aggressively this green line was going up, and the price went up 175% during that 7-month stretch. I circled this, which is the 10 to 10K wallet specifically, and how Mt. Gox was consolidating during that time. Also worth mentioning was the German government selling off a ton of Bitcoin, and there was generally kind of a negative sentiment surrounding crypto during this short stretch here. But you can see overall the 10 plus BTC wallets, they just continue to climb. And then all of a sudden you can see how much the trajectory went way up. And this was the highest trajectory of accumulation in a short period of time in over 3 years. And during this stretch from October 2024 until now, the price of Bitcoin has gone up 64% as the whales have increased their accumulation rate. So yes, we are still in a very solid accumulation rate based on what I'm seeing. If we look at the live look here and we hide everything but the 10 plus BTC wallets, it looks pretty good. We're just continuing to climb and seeing more and more accumulated. If we go back to when that increased rate really started back on October 12th, about 7 weeks ago, they've accumulated 103,000-ish more Bitcoin in just under 2 months. I'd say that's a pretty good sign that if we are going to fall, it isn't happening because of whales. They're just continuing to add more coins to their collective wallets. Anything you'd like to add to the whale picture, Maxim? I know it's a very important topic right now.
Oh, I always like to add non-whale small wallets behavior, because this is for deciding when danger zone. This is now relevant.
Yeah.
Do you have this prepared, the small wallets too?
Yeah, so as far as small wallets go, what I usually do is I look at anywhere between 0 to about 0.1 at the most. And you can see they're kind of moving the opposite direction.
Yeah, I think if even you include one, it will be probably the same.
Okay.
I look at one too, yeah.
So if we go to, I'll make sure it's under absolute, not percentages, 0 to 1. Take off this one. So yeah, they're pretty much inverse to one another, as you'd expect. The only one that's missing is 1 to 10. So yeah, the wallets that hold 1 or less Bitcoin have dropped by 30,907 Bitcoin over the past 7 weeks.
So as long as it's not growing, not financial advice, but probably should keep exposure. The moment they change their behavior, this is where, based on the data, you could say data proof there is FOMO in the market.
Right. And that's the next chart that I wanted to show off here. This is the past 3 months of all the positive sentiment, negative sentiment, and then that ratio that was kind of like an improved version of weighted sentiment, where we're looking at the ratio of positive versus negative sentiment comments multiplied by social dominance. And this big spike right here, this is when the positive ratio was really huge because of the Trump election. And it was such an anomaly. Usually you would see a spike like this lead to a correction right afterwards. You saw it back on October 29th, and you saw very recently after we crossed 100K, this big spike, and then we corrected right after. But the Trump pump was different because whales got very excited also when the Trump election was announced, and they basically pushed prices up in spite of all of the retail euphoria that happened right there. But other than that, I still think this is a very reliable indicator, especially when you see positive sentiment so high. Look at, it's kind of faint right now. I'll make it a little brighter. But you can see how positive sentiment actually got to the highest we've seen in at least the past 3 months, even surpassing the Trump euphoria. And obviously, the 100K market value was the culprit here. But I find it encouraging that the sentiment ratio has quickly fallen back down to kind of a neutral range, if not even a little below average right now. So if you're looking for a bunch of euphoria as a danger signal, it's really not there right now. I think the euphoria was basically just over the 100K milestone, and then it quickly just calmed down right away after prices corrected. So as far as sentiment goes, not too concerning right there. If anything, it's a really good combination that the retail crowd is continuing to drop their Bitcoin as the whales pick them up, and the commentary is quite neutral, if not just a little on the negative side compared to average. Because the reasoning behind all this is markets move the opposite direction of the crowd's expectations, and we're really seeing that the crowd is kind of a non-believer right now overall. Obviously, we're generalizing a huge, massive amount of people that are commenting on social media, but their reluctance at these price levels is part of what's churning, whales bags forward so much, because they're able to kind of push prices upward with very little resistance from retail. And the 100K sell-offs were kind of predictable, and now those limit sells have come and gone. So now we see what happens over these next couple weeks regarding just how high whales can push before they finally start to profit take themselves. And just looking at the total amount of holders, yeah, I mean, this kind of verifies they're not really growing by all that much. Since November 6th, 1 month ago, yeah, we have 220,000 more Bitcoin wallets, but that's not really a crazy high increase. We've seen much more aggressive FOMO increases that usually lead to corrections, both here and here. You can see how prices were dropping when the FOMO was starting. Even right here, FOMOing back in late December, early January, and then prices drop right after. So yeah, overall, I think stars are still aligning in a positive direction for Bitcoin and all of crypto. And I'm excited to see just how far this can go. One other thing I wanted to mention here, look at the 100 to 1K wallets in particular. I mean, they're just, the number of them is going through the roof right now. Going back 2 months, they've increased in number by 8.2%. So we're talking about 100 Bitcoin as of now is about $10 million, give or take, going all the way up to $10 million to $1 billion. These are basically the highest active wallets in most cases, because if you go to 1K to 10K, a lot of them are going to be just exchange wallets that are fluctuating based on demand. But this is a very good sign, because these are, at least a very large amount of them are actual institutional traders, or just massive anonymous whales that are growing in number because they perhaps saw this climb coming. And this October 8th or so was pretty much right when the rally really took off. So I love the sign of that. Another thing I wanted to mention is the ETF volume right now, still looking very high. This is kind of confirming that so much of this rally is being churned by institutionals, because they're largely responsible for the ETF volume being so high, and they kind of have been moving up over the past month, especially right after Trump got elected, very aggressively. So ETF volume is looking very healthy as of now, and I'm excited to eventually have total inflow and outflow, which will be a very, very helpful metric to show what's going on the ETF end, not just in terms of volume, but how much money is actually moving in and out.
By the way, Brian, would it be possible also to show here price of Bitcoin? I like always to.
Yeah, I want there to be that line, but I'm not the author of this dashboard. This is Ante. I'll reach out to him and
maybe he can bring it here.
Yeah, that would be a great addition. Something I've wanted to see for a while now. I also wanted to mention funding rates, and we can look at a few different coins for this. So even though sentiment is kind of looking neutral, that's interesting because of the amount of social volume that we were seeing when the 100K got hit, the weighted sentiment went through the roof. But funding rates, if we go to them, if I can find them, so many different charts on this template. There it is. Okay, so funding rates actually have kind of taken off a little bit. This is the past year. You can see, let me just take off everything else besides Binance. You can see the Binance funding rate has actually really started to spike after Bitcoin crossed 100K here. And it's kind of matching what we saw back in March and April when we saw the then 73K-ish all-time high. So that's a bit of a danger area. I'd like to see the long bias on Binance kind of go away and more liquidations happen. It appears that even after those liquidations, more people are trying to long after that dip and anticipating that 100K plus is going to happen again. But if you're looking really in the short term and you don't care what the whales are going to do to prices long term, this is still suggesting that there's a little bit of overeagerness going on, despite the sentiment being neutral on social media. As far as people putting their money where their mouths are, it looks like there's a clear bias toward longing still. So watch out for that in the short term. I wanted to look at Ethereum and maybe even XRP because of its relevance right now. So Ethereum is seeing some longing, not quite as extreme as Bitcoin. You can see it was a little bit larger back in March and April. Just take off price, so it's not covering. Yeah, so it's definitely at its highest since April, but not quite at the extreme ends. So a little bit of a warning sign for Ethereum. And as far as XRP goes, look at that transaction volume, just through the roof for XRP. Same with daily active addresses. Tons of just very interesting metrics going on for XRP because of its massive ascension. And yeah, it's pretty much matching the same kind of funding rate that we saw back in late March, early April. So again, a little bit of a warning sign, especially for Bitcoin and XRP, a little bit less for Ethereum. But they're all being longed right now. So be wary of the potential greed that might be peeking through right now. Maxim, I hear you typing, my friend. Your mic is on.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was. Oh, sorry. I was. Yeah, I got a question from our friends.
No, I know. We've been getting a lot more questions, you and I, for the last few days after 100K breached.
No, this time it's actually from CoinDesk. They ask if, no, Unchained. If what are the consequences of Ethereum breaking 4K? So I write in an answer. I can repeat here. Then I will mute because I haven't finished that yet. Said now it's a very good time to observe this breaking of 4K. If it's What kind of impact it will make on market participants? Will they increase their activities, including, of course, like taking profits and everything, or will rather start decreasing it, which will reveal the picture of the start to believe that, okay, 4K, then it's not so long way till 5K and 6K. So this was my answer I'm writing. And usually you need a few days to wait and look into the metrics. Yeah, as based on small wallets, there are still no ultimate topish indicator. I haven't seen them yet. But of course, intermediarily, it can appear also anytime. And
Yeah,
4K is a good level, yeah. So behavior might change.
I'm always very interested in the total wallets for Ethereum because it just seems to constantly be climbing up. And the only thing I can make sense of when I look at it is when it kind of flattens out a little bit. That's a sign of FUD, but it very rarely does. It's mostly just climbing and climbing. But if I look at some other metrics for Ethereum while Maxim finishes up his conversation, um, what I have been checking out is MVRVs, and we haven't talked about that yet on this call. So for those who don't know, this is market value to realized value. Anything above 0% means the average traders that have been active in the past 30 days here or the past 365 days here, this is what their returns are on average if you combine all the wallets that have been active during these periods of time. When it gets very high, that's when you typically see corrections. When it gets super low, these are usually the times to buy because a bounce is usually imminent. You can see the times in which the orange line is below zero. Great time to buy here back in January. Great time to here back in April. Great time to buy after that huge dip in early August, and so on and so forth. But as of now, 30-day MVRV is getting pretty high for Ethereum. It's not quite at the extreme end that we saw back in March, but yeah, the average wallet that's been active is up about 17% over the past 30 days. So be a little cautious of that. Also, the 365-day MVRV is up to about plus 32.5%. So both a little bit iffy right now. I wouldn't be shocked if there was a bit of a cool down period coming up very soon. But I don't necessarily think this means we're going to see a huge correction. Sometimes average trading returns just need to come down a tiny bit due to a bunch of people that are buying at 4K, and then they're shocked when it falls to like 3,600, and then MVRVs get even again because of all the top buying, and then we blast off, back above 4K and beyond. So just a potential scenario that could happen if metrics stay the way they look right now. Another thing for Ethereum, we checked out funding rate. Whale transactions are definitely heating up. If we go back to the past year, outside of this huge dip buy that happened on August 4th, this is kind of the most consistent we've seen whale transactions be in terms of $1 million or more transactions per day. So this indicates there's some heavy interest going on, more likely accumulation than dumping, because it isn't just a huge anomaly spike out of nowhere. This is just gradual increased interest by whales over time. And I like the look of that overall. Utility-wise, things are increasing. A lot more transactions happening in profit than they are to loss. Not really a surprise considering prices are through the roof. This metric's actually most relevant when prices are flat, because you can really see when people are giving up or buying. But also mean dollar invested age, and I'll get to Bitcoins as well. But this is interesting, Maxim, if you are back and watching. Over the past month, the mean dollar invested age has really started to drop for ETH, just like it had been doing for Bitcoin for a little bit longer. Now, if we go to Bitcoin, Here's what it looks like for the mean dollar invested age, going all the way back really to 1 year ago. It was what, like October when the line started to move down. So yeah, right around October of 2023. So we're on like this 13-month stretch now, where the average age of coins sitting in wallets has been going down in some capacity. It went severely down, indicating that we were in a bull market. That's what this line really means, is if the average age is moving down, that means dormant coins are coming back into circulation and allowing prices to rise rapidly, a la in a bull market. And we saw that very much prominent from October to late March, early April. Then we get to this flat period, and that's not coincidentally, prices are chopping during this time. We see a little bit of dormant going on here where the line is actually going up. And then all of a sudden, whales make their move in early October, and the average age of coins went from 525 days to where it is now at 449 days. That's a massive, massive drop, and a very good sign that we are in a bull market still. So as long as these dormant coins continue to move aggressively, the price can continue to go up without much resistance. Now, there still can be some chopping, even when there's a decline in mean dollar invested age. You still see occasional red bars, but it means that they're going to be pretty short-lived as long as the stagnant coins are continuing to just come back into circulation aggressively. So very good sign by Bitcoin, and an extra good sign that it's happening with Ethereum too now.
True. I also saw it on some altcoins.
Yeah, I wanted to look at XRP really quick.
Oh, good. I didn't look into XRP yet.
Yeah, look at that. Huge.
Not bad. Yeah.
Yeah, better than not bad. I mean, just going back 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks, whatever it is. I mean, the mean dollar invested age has dropped 23%.
Can you go back to 21 just to see compare? Just extend the time frame so we can see exactly. Yeah. So back then there was also a big distribution. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it comes in much shorter waves with XRP. It's very all of a sudden, just like the price surges. They're much more, bursts within a few weeks rather than a few months like Bitcoin and Ethereum. So mean dollar invested age tends to do the same.
Well, this is also need to keep in mind the whole scale of the chart is quite long. From what I see, still was like few months, maybe maximum.
Yeah, this is 2020 to 2024, last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Any other altcoins that you wanted to check out for that metric?
No, well, I'm personally or I'm tracking Curve and ENS. They I think the same. Also very so far healthy redistribution. And generally, whoever is checking your altcoin, if we have a data for it, always look if there is an ongoing decline in mean dollar invested age, which would mean on one side desires also hold big bags to distribute them. On the other side, the reason of buying pressure, and this buyer pressure likely, or at least big part of it coming from new hodlers, and they will do whatever in their power to spread around, to try to push it up. So generally, we like to see this decline in mean dollar invested age as a confirmation of strong bull market. Mm-hmm. Just keep in mind for Ethereum and Bitcoin, it's typically 6, 8, 9 months, sometimes 12. Right. For other altcoins, it's much shorter.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm looking at the activity matrix where we're looking at 7 different metrics that are combined to see how active each network is. Mean dollar age is one of them. I know my screen is very small. If I made it a little bit bigger here, you can see it more clearly. So like Ampleforth, for example, seeing very, very dark red for mean dollar age, meaning it's having one of its best times right now compared to the recent past few months. And there's just, I mean, it's red all over the place, and that's a sign that we are still seeing much, much hotter network activity right now, the past 24 hours, compared to the past 3-month averages for all these coins. So that's a very good sign. If we go to the leaderboard and we really try to pick out which ones are seeing the highest level of activity, Jasmy is actually standing out as the most active compared to its average of all of these 100+ coins that are on this model. Wi-Fi right behind it, also seeing huge, huge activity. Render is up there, Sandbox, Marlin, Status, Compound, Quant, Anchor, and Acropolis. A few pretty big notable names up there. I'm quite interested to see what Jasmy is doing, as it's been having a pretty good year and is in the top 80 in terms of market caps now. In fact, it's so active. I mean, I also want to look at Bitcoin's whale transactions because it's showing that it just had its biggest day. I think that makes sense because it just crossed 100K. But let's take a look at Jasmy really quick. Not too special on the transaction volume, but look at this. Daily active addresses. Let's just go back the past 3 months. The daily active addresses, yep, sure enough, biggest spike we've seen. Oh, this needs to be regular MVRV. Yeah, so MVRV went through the roof. It was at plus 77%. That's a sign that we might be seeing a correction, by the way. We don't want to see an MVRV nearly that high if you're looking for a buy opportunity. Whale transactions, look at this, just absolute through the roof. 29 $1 million plus transactions in one day is way more than this network usually sees. The last time it happened was back on the 19th, and that signaled the perfect time to buy because the price was moving slightly down at that time. And the rule of thumb is when you see a whale transaction spike, look at what direction the price is moving. If it's moving up and then you see the whale transaction spike, the price is about to go down. If you see it going down and then you see the spike, that means the price is about to go up. And right now, prices are going way up, and all of a sudden, massive whale transaction spike. That's an indication we might be seeing a bit of a correction there. And here's that mean dollar invested age line. Clearly, over the past week or so, maybe 5-6 days, we've suddenly seen a bunch of dormant coins moving back into circulation. So that's a good long-term sign, even though whale transactions are indicating we're probably going to see a short-term downswing. So keep that in mind as well. Social dominance through the roof. So yeah, I can see why the activity matrix is naming it as the most hot network out of all of these right now. Just it's right here for those who can't see it. I'll zoom in just a little bit. But yeah, these colors mean that it's basically just nothing but year highs or at least 3-month highs for every metric under Jasmy. And whale transactions, as I promised for Bitcoin. And I saw those coin requests, Balresh. I'll get to them in just a sec. So yeah, whale transactions, there's the $1 million or more, seeing a record happening yesterday. If we add 100K plus to it, pretty much same thing. Yep. We actually, on a short-term scale, saw something bigger about a month ago. But yeah, over a daily basis, it's by far the highest with 24,723 100K plus whale transactions happening yesterday. I'm assuming that's the most since March. Yeah, it was. Oh, no, this was even higher than March. So yeah, that was a year high. Very interesting stuff. Okay. I'll do one or two of those. Balresh, you mentioned Cardano, Link, and Ethereum. We already did Ethereum, so that's easy. We'll skip that. Let's take a look at Link. The ever popular chain Link with a very vocal social following. Transaction volume wise, definitely massive. Going on a few days now of seeing very massive transaction volume, consistently between $400 million to $900 million per day here in December. That to me just looks like it's supporting the price. This isn't really the type of metric that signals a huge reversal, so not too big of a deal there. Daily active addresses, this is showing a little bit of FOMO going on. It looks like the people who have been waiting for Chainlink to wake up are finally pouncing and hoping that it continues to go up. But right now, if we zoom in a little bit, it looks like their timing wasn't the best, because you see all these daily active addresses that really spiked here right after this huge green candle on December 2nd, and then the price has slid down a bit ever since. So I would be rooting for the active addresses to settle down a bit, because when you see a sudden huge spike rather than gradual growth like that, that's a sign that it's just FOMO central right now. MVRV, yeah, 30-day MVRV is still very high. It was all the way up at plus 47% back on December 1st. Basically anything above 15% here from the line I just drew, anything above is indicative of us being in a bit of a risky spot for that asset. So we need average trading returns to come down just a little bit before the mid or long term bright future for Chainlink kind of comes to fruition. So swing trading wise, there are better spots to buy, but it doesn't mean, if you're planning on holding for a year or 5 years, don't worry about this so much. Funding rate also showing a lot of longs, definitely the most we've been seeing for the past 3 months. Not quite as big as we saw in March, but it's getting there. So a little bit worrisome, just like we saw for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. Whale transactions are massive right now. That's a bit of a worry for me, because it's showing that there's probably some profit taking going on from the large key stakeholders right now. If we look at supply distribution, so prices at about $23, $24 right now. So we'd call whales probably starting at about the 10K level. If we just merge them all by absolutes, yeah, they're actually moving up okay. That doesn't look too bad. So long-term wise,
maybe take a bit shorter time frame so that this strong move on the left side. I know, okay, indeed.
Yeah, it's just staying it's hard to see, but it's definitely moving up. I can make the axis a little better.
What is the percentage of amount is coin? Maybe it's already so high because some big wallets holding too much. Maybe we need to exclude few wallets. Otherwise, you don't see any difference.
Yeah, we could do just 10K to 1 million. We'll try that.
Yeah, this looks better.
Yeah. Yeah, so mostly showing some pretty nice accumulation going back to mid-September. Since that time, this group has accumulated about 11.5 million more Chainlink, or about 5.5% more to their collective wallets. So that's a good sign for the midterm, long term. I think overall, even with this mean dollar invested age line going down, I see some short-term pain for Chainlink. It all depends on if Bitcoin can stay, where it is right now, but Chainlink looks to be a little overheated with some euphoria that would be concerning to me. But mid and long term doesn't look too bad at all. So it really depends on the time frame that you are strategizing for Chainlink. If you're waiting for the ideal spot to buy a position or add more to your position, you probably can have a better opportunity after the MVRVs aren't showing like, plus 20% in the past 30 days. That's my take on Chainlink. Moving over to Cardano, and that'll be the last because my voice is getting raspy here. Transaction volume is quite high, or at least it was, but it's settled down a bit. Just as a reminder, I mean, Cardano has just been on a pretty incredible tear, even though it topped out a little bit on December 2nd.
Wait a second. Do we see some divergences emerging? Can you take directive addresses here? Transaction volume is on-chain transaction volume, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Here's
circulation.
daily active addresses.
Oh, yeah. I think I know this pattern. Cardano entered danger zone. You
What
see
makes you say
that? Oh, this point of recognition, the biggest increase in social attention. I remember there were a lot of talks, and here we see on-chain activity, this yellow big spike. So it's a middle. Now we made a new top in the price, but look at the on-chain activity; it didn't follow.
Mm-hmm.
We now start seeing emerging divergences here.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say Cardano since 2 months ago, or I'm sorry, 1 month ago, it's still up 264%. The price has been through the roof. It would not be shocking at all to see a bit of a cool down period. And the 30-day MVRV is still at about plus 29%. It got all the way to about plus 58% a couple weeks ago. So yeah, this coin looks like it is bound to cool off, especially with the funding rates looking pretty high right now too. Whale transactions indicate there was a lot of profit taking, just like we saw for Chainlink, happened right at the top. Not a shock there. Each of these past, look at this big whale transaction spike back on November 10th. There was a short-term correction on November 23rd, big spike, longer correction. And then this one is even bigger on December 2nd. That's the trifecta there. I wouldn't be surprised if this correction lasts even longer than the previous two.
Yes.
In terms of whale wallets, Cardano is sitting at about $1.20. So I'll go about 100K to 10 million for this one. And they're still moving up. That's an interesting sign.
And take the small wallets 0, 1, okay, 1 to 10, 10 to 100.
1 to 10 and 10 to 100.
Yeah. Okay.
They're still moving down.
Okay. Well, then it means it opens the space for one more push up as 100 Cardanos would be 2,000. Yeah. We could say retail is not massively, at least on this scale, retail. Maybe can we take 100 to 1,000 just to double check? Also decline. Okay, so there is a chance for one push up, and if this divergence in network activity is not being resolved, then I'm afraid it could be the last one. Yeah. But at least decline or lack of increase in small holdings, give some positive sign. Okay, there is something positive. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'd say, looking at some of the bigger altcoins, there are some short-term concerns for XRP, Chainlink, Cardano. We didn't look at Stellar, but I would be fairly certain they're in the same boat. But Bitcoin's long-term and mid-term future, I still think it looks pretty good. My consensus is, the next time, if 100K hasn't already been breached during this call, it probably will happen shortly. And I think it could have more lasting power this time. Whenever we see big milestones, there tends to be a lot of limit sell orders at that round number that temporarily pushes the price down. And then there's that second retest. And based on what whales are doing, they aren't planning on selling when we see 100K or even 105K, at least not from what we've seen so far in the data. So that's a very good sign. And really the only thing that can stand in the way is a lot of retail euphoria. We don't want to see them get too greedy. We need to see the majority crowd be a little bit doubtful and uncertain at these levels. And that could be a very good sign that we could really blast off and see numbers like 110, 120, 130. What do you think, Maxim? Any final thoughts on your end?
Same. Just keep watching behavior of small wallets. At least this is what I'm doing. Yeah. We're relatively safe territory unless we see change of behavior in small wallets. And I'm talking about mostly Bitcoin. It should be reflective for the rest.
Yep. Good stuff, my friend. Well, I appreciate you being on the call, and looking forward to doing it again with you next week.
Yes, same here. Have a safe week.
You betcha. All right. Thank you all for watching. Be safe out there. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will talk to you soon.
Yeah, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.